My hand trembled as I held the stack of legal documents I'd found hidden beneath the floorboards in my daughter's old bedroom. The signature at the bottom was supposed to be mine, but I'd never seen these papers before in my life. 3 nights earlier, I'd had the dream. I was standing in our old kitchen, the one Henry and I had renovated back in 1992. Everything looked exactly as it had when he was alive, down to the coffee stain on the counter he'd never managed to scrub out completely. He was sitting at the table, wearing his favorite blue cardigan, the one I donated to Goodwill 2 years after he passed. "Margaret," he said, and his voice was exactly as I remembered it. Warm, steady, real. "You need to listen to me very carefully." I tried to speak, to tell him how much I'd missed him, but no words came out. "Rebecca is going to ask you to sign some papers," he continued, his expression grave in a way I'd rarely seen during our 43 years of marriage. "Don't do it. Don't sign anything she brings you. Promise me." "Henry, I don't understand." "Promise me, Margaret. Check the house. The truth is there." He started to fade, the kitchen dissolving around him. "Don't trust Daniel. And whatever you do, don't sign those papers." I woke up at 3:47 a.m., my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. The dream had felt different from the usual ones where Henry appeared. Those were soft, comforting, like a gentle visit. This one had urgency. Warning. I'd gotten out of bed and made myself chamomile tea, telling myself it was just anxiety. Rebecca had been wonderful these past few months, visiting more often, helping me with the yard work, even cooking dinner twice a week. She'd turned her life around after that messy divorce from Marcus, and I was so proud of her. The dream was probably just my subconscious working through my worry about her new boyfriend, Daniel. I'd only met him twice, but there was something about the way he looked at my house that made me uncomfortable, like he was appraising it. 2 days later, Rebecca called. "Mom, I need to come over tonight. Daniel and I have been looking into your finances, and there are some things we need to discuss." "My finances?" I managed my own money just fine. Henry had left me comfortable, and I was careful with my spending. "What things?" "It's complicated. We'll explain when we get there." "Is 7 okay?" Something in her voice made my stomach tighten, but I agreed. They were family. Rebecca was my only daughter, my only living relative, after Henry died of a heart attack 3 years ago at the age of 68. Of course I wanted to help if there was a problem. They arrived exactly at 7, Rebecca carrying a leather folder and Daniel following with his laptop bag. He kissed my cheek, and I caught a whiff of expensive cologne. Too expensive for someone who'd told me just last month that he was between jobs. We sat in the living room, and Rebecca opened the folder with what I can only describe as practiced efficiency. "Mom, we've been reviewing your situation, and we're concerned. You're 65 now, and this house is too much for you to maintain. I maintain it perfectly fine. But for how much longer?" Daniel cut in, his voice smooth. "Rebecca tells me you've had trouble with your knees. What happens when you can't do the stairs anymore? Or when something major breaks and you can't afford to fix it?" I looked at my daughter. "Rebecca, I've lived in this house for 37 years. Your father and I bought it when you were 2 years old. Every memory I have, which is exactly why we need to act now, while you still have options." She pulled out several documents. "We've found a beautiful assisted living facility in Clearwater. It has activities, medical staff on site, and you'd be with people your own age. You wouldn't have to worry about maintenance or property taxes or any of it." "I'm not ready for assisted living. I'm 65, not 90. I walk 3 miles every morning. I volunteer at the library twice a week." "Mom, we're trying to help you." Rebecca's voice took on that patient tone I recognized from when she used to explain things to her own children before they'd grown and moved across the country. "The housing market is strong right now. If we sell the house, you could have plenty of money for the facility, plus extra for whatever you need." "If we sell?" I repeated slowly. "This is my house, Rebecca." "Of course it is." Daniel leaned forward, his smile sympathetic. "Which is why we need you to sign a power of attorney. It's just a formality, really. It allows Rebecca to handle the business side of things, so you don't have to deal with the stress of realtors and paperwork and negotiations. You'd still have final say on everything." He slid a document across my coffee table. It was thick, dense with legal language. Henry's voice echoed in my mind. "Don't sign anything she brings you." I need to think about this, I said. Rebecca's smile tightened. Mom, the market won't stay this strong forever. Every month we wait, you could lose thousands in value. Then I'll lose it. I need time to think. They left 20 minutes later, Rebecca's hug stiffer than usual. Daniel's goodbye smile didn't reach his eyes. After they'd gone, I sat in Henry's old recliner and looked around the living room. The photos of Rebecca at every age, from gap-toothed first grader to bride at her wedding. The bookshelf Henry had built himself, slightly crooked but sturdy. The window seat where I read every Sunday morning. Why would Henry warn me about this? Rebecca was my daughter. She was trying to help. But Henry had said to check the house. The truth is there. I didn't sleep that night. At dawn, I made coffee and started in the basement. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but I looked anyway. Old boxes, Christmas decorations, Henry's tools still organized exactly as he'd left them. Nothing seemed out of place. The attic was the same. Yearbooks, old tax returns, my wedding dress in its preservation box. Around noon, exhausted and starting to feel foolish, I went into Rebecca's old bedroom. We'd kept it mostly as it was, though I'd repurposed her desk for my sewing machine. The walls still had the lavender paint she'd chosen at 14. Her high school volleyball trophies lined the shelf. I'm not sure what made me check under the bed. Maybe it was just systematic searching. Maybe it was something else. The floorboard was loose. I'd never noticed it before, but when I pressed on it, it shifted. Underneath, wrapped in a plastic bag, were documents. A lot of them. The first was a power of attorney form, already filled out and signed. My signature at the bottom, dated 2 weeks ago, except I'd never signed it. I'd never even seen it. The second was a listing agreement with a real estate agency. Again, my signature. Again, not written by my hand. The third was a contract for the sale of my house to a developer. Selling price, $425,000. The house was worth at least $600,000. I knew from the property tax assessments. My signature. Closing date. 3 weeks from now. There were bank statements showing a new account opened in my name, life insurance policies I'd never purchased, a quit-claim deed transferring my house to Rebecca, waiting to be filed. My hands started to shake so badly I had to set the papers down. Rebecca had been practicing my signature. The papers underneath showed multiple attempts, getting closer and closer to my actual writing. Some dated back 6 months. This wasn't a sudden decision. This had been planned, carefully, methodically. I thought about Daniel's expensive cologne, his laptop always with him, the way he'd steered every conversation back to money whenever he visited. Rebecca's sudden increased attention after years of monthly phone calls and obligatory holiday visits. They weren't trying to help me. They were trying to steal everything Henry and I had built. I carefully photographed every document with my phone, then put them back exactly as I'd found them. My mind was racing. If they'd hidden this here, in Rebecca's old room where they knew I rarely went, what else had they done? I drove to my bank, First National, where I'd had an account for 25 years. Carla, my usual teller, greeted me warmly. Mrs. Patterson, how's your day? I need to speak with a manager, please, about my accounts. The concern in my voice must have registered because she immediately went to get Mr. Hendricks. He led me into his office, closed the door. I need to know if anyone has tried to access my accounts or if any new accounts have been opened in my name. His fingers flew over his keyboard. The frown that appeared made my stomach drop. Mrs. Patterson, there was an attempt last week to add a co-signer to your savings account. The request was submitted online with what appeared to be your signature, but our fraud department flagged it because it didn't match your signature card on file exactly. We called the number listed on the application, but no one answered, so we denied the request. Who tried to add themselves? Rebecca Patterson Mills. Your daughter. The room tilted slightly. Seeing it in the documents was one thing. Hearing it confirmed by my bank was another. Has she tried anything else? He checked. There was also an attempt to order checks for your account to be sent to a different address. We blocked that as well. But I'm going to recommend we put additional security measures on all your accounts immediately. We spent the next hour locking everything down. New passwords, two-factor authentication, verbal confirmation required for any changes. Mr. Hendricks also suggested I contact a lawyer. I knew exactly who to call. Patricia Chen had handled our estate planning when Henry died. She was sharp, thorough, and didn't suffer fools. She could see me that afternoon. When I showed her the photos of the documents, her expression hardened. "This is elder financial abuse, Margaret, and it's a felony. These forged signatures, if used, could constitute fraud and identity theft." "She's my daughter," I said, and my voice broke on the words. How could she do this? Patricia's voice was gentle but firm. People do terrible things for money. The question is, what do you want to do about it? I want to stop them, and I want to know how far this goes. Then we need to move carefully. If they suspect, they might accelerate their plans or destroy evidence. Do they have keys to your house? I nodded. Rebecca has had keys since she was 16. Change your locks today. Don't tell her. And I'm going to recommend you install a security camera system. We need to document everything from this point forward. I left her office feeling like I was living in someone else's life. This couldn't be happening. Rebecca used to bring me dandelions she'd picked, calling them sunshine flowers. She'd cried for an hour when our cat died when she was 9. How had that little girl become someone who would forge my signature to steal my home? I called a locksmith from the car. He could come that evening. The security camera company could install the next day. When I got home, I walked through every room, seeing it differently now, looking for what else Rebecca might have touched or taken or hidden. In my bedroom, I checked my jewelry box. Henry's mother's engagement ring, the one we'd planned to give Rebecca someday, was gone. So were the pearl earrings Henry had given me for our 20th anniversary. In the study, I went through the filing cabinet. Documents were out of order. Some were missing. Copies of our life insurance policies, the deed to the house, stock certificates. I sank into Henry's desk chair, the leather cracked and soft from decades of use, and I let myself cry. Not just for what Rebecca was doing, but for the relationship I'd thought we had. Every phone call in the past 6 months, every dinner she'd cooked, every time she'd said, "I love you, Mom," all of it had been a lie. Building trust so I'd sign whatever she put in front of me. Daniel was clearly the mastermind, but Rebecca was a willing participant. My little girl, who I'd raised to be honest and kind, had looked me in the eye and called theft helping. The locksmith arrived at 6. While he worked, Rebecca called. "Hey, Mom, can I come by tomorrow? I want to talk more about the assisted living place. I found one that has a beautiful garden." "I'm busy tomorrow," I said, proud that my voice stayed steady. "Oh, okay. Wednesday then? I'll have to check my calendar and call you back." A pause. "Is everything okay? You sound strange." "I'm fine. Just tired. I didn't sleep well." "Maybe that's another sign you need more support, Mom. You shouldn't be alone in that big house if you're not sleeping well." The manipulation was so smooth, so practiced. How had I never noticed before? "I'll call you later, Rebecca. I need to go." I hung up before she could respond. The security cameras were installed by noon the next day. 4 of them, front door, back door, driveway, and one in the living room pointed at my desk where documents were kept. The technician showed me how to view the feeds on my phone. All motion activated, all recording to a cloud server. Patricia had also arranged for a private investigator. His name was Marcus, ironically, the same name as Rebecca's ex-husband, and he specialized in financial crimes. He came by that evening, reviewed my photos of the documents, and took down everything I knew about Daniel. "Do you know his last name?" he asked. "Sullivan. Daniel Sullivan. He told me he worked in real estate investment, but between jobs currently." Marcus made notes. "I'll run a background check." "How long have he and your daughter been together?" "About 8 months. She met him at some networking event after her divorce was finalized." "And when did her increased attention toward you start?" I thought back. "Around the same time. Maybe a month after they started dating." "That's not a coincidence." He looked up from his notepad. "Mrs. Patterson, it's possible your daughter's boyfriend targeted her specifically because she had a mother with assets. We see it sometimes with con artists. They're very good at finding vulnerable targets. Rebecca isn't vulnerable. She's smart. She has a master's degree in business. Vulnerable doesn't mean stupid. It means emotionally available. She was freshly divorced, probably feeling rejected, maybe financially stressed. Someone who paid attention to her, made her feel special, presented himself as successful and stable that would be very appealing. And once he had her trust, suggesting she could solve her money problems through her mother's assets wouldn't seem like theft. He'd frame it as taking what she deserved, or protecting her interests, or helping both of you. The picture he painted made horrible sense. Rebecca had been devastated by her divorce. Marcus, her ex-husband Marcus, had left her for a younger woman. She'd lost the house in the settlement, had to move into a small apartment. She'd been angry and hurt, and yes, probably vulnerable. But she was still choosing to do this. Daniel might have planted the idea, but Rebecca was the one forging signatures. Rebecca was the one lying to my face. Marcus stood. I'll have information on Daniel within 48 hours. In the meantime, don't change your routine. Don't let them know you suspect anything. Can you do that? I nodded, though I wasn't sure I could. How do you act normal when your world has shattered? That night, I had the dream again. Henry, in our kitchen, but this time he was smiling. You're doing the right thing, he said. I know it's hard, but you're strong, Margaret. You always have been. I don't feel strong, I whispered. I feel betrayed and stupid and heartbroken. You're none of those things. You trusted your daughter because that's what mothers do. Her choices aren't your failure. He started to fade. Check the insurance papers again. There's something you missed. I woke before dawn and went immediately to the documents still hidden under Rebecca's floorboard. I'd photographed everything, but I pulled them out again, looking more carefully. The life insurance policies weren't just in my name. They were survivorship policies. If I died, Rebecca would receive $750,000. There were 3 of them, from different companies, all dated within the last 5 months. The applications had my forged signature. The premiums were being paid from that mysterious bank account opened in my name, funded by small transfers from my real savings account, amounts small enough I wouldn't notice in my monthly statements. My breath caught. This wasn't just about stealing my house. They'd been setting up to profit from my death. I called Patricia immediately, even though it was only 6 a.m. She answered on the second ring. Apparently lawyers working on fraud cases don't sleep much either. They've taken out life insurance policies on me, I said. $750,000. Silence. Then, forward me those photos. I'm calling the police. This has gone beyond civil fraud, Margaret. With the insurance policies and the financial setup, this starts looking like potential intent to harm. You think they'd actually hurt me? But even as I asked, I knew the answer. If Rebecca could look at me and lie, if she could forge my signature dozens of times, if she could plan to steal my home, why wouldn't she go further? Especially if Daniel was as manipulative as Marcus the investigator suggested. I think we can't take chances. I'm also recommending you stay somewhere else for a few days while we sort this out. This is my home. I'm not leaving. Then I'm asking the police to do extra patrols in your neighborhood. And Margaret, don't eat or drink anything Rebecca brings you. Don't leave drinks unattended when they visit. I know this sounds paranoid. It doesn't, I interrupted. Not anymore. Marcus called that afternoon. Daniel Sullivan is a con artist, real name Daniel Reardon. He's been arrested twice in other states for financial exploitation of elderly women. Did 30 months in prison in Arizona for stealing from a 73-year-old woman whose daughter he'd been dating. Same pattern. Got the daughter to help him access the mother's accounts, forged power of attorney, sold assets. I sat down heavily. Does Rebecca know? I don't know. But Mrs. Patterson, if she doesn't know and finds out, she becomes a witness and potential ally. If she does know, she's a willing accomplice to a repeat offender. How do I find out which? I have an idea, but you might not like it. His plan was simple. Create an opportunity for Rebecca to come clean. Tell her I'd decided to sign the power of attorney after all, but I needed her to answer some questions first. See how she reacted. Record the conversation with the camera in my living room. It felt like a trap for my own daughter. But what choice did I have? I called Rebecca that evening. Honey, I've been thinking about what you said. About the house being too much for me. Maybe you're right. Oh, Mom. Relief flooded her voice. I'm so glad. I've been so worried about you. I want to sign those papers. But I have some questions first. Can you and Daniel come over Saturday morning? Of course! We can come tomorrow if you want. Saturday is better. I want to make sure I understand everything. Saturday. That gave the police 3 days to review everything Patricia had sent them. Gave Marcus time to dig deeper into Daniel's background. Gave me time to prepare for a conversation that would either reveal my daughter as a victim who could be saved or confirm her as someone I no longer knew. I barely slept for 3 nights. On Saturday morning, I made coffee and set up the living room exactly as they'd expect. The power of attorney papers they'd shown me were on the coffee table. I'd gotten Patricia to create some additional documents that looked official but were actually harmless, just to see what Rebecca would do with them. They arrived at 10, Rebecca carrying pastries from my favorite bakery. The gesture would have been sweet if I hadn't been watching for poison. I took one but didn't eat it. "So, Mom, you're ready to move forward?" Rebecca sat close to me on the couch, her hand on my arm. The daughter I remembered, except I could see it now, the calculation behind the warmth. "I have questions first. I've been thinking about this a lot. If I sign over power of attorney, what exactly can you do?" Daniel launched into an explanation, smooth and practiced. Pay bills, make medical decisions, handle property sales, manage investments. All in your best interest, of course. Think of it as Rebecca being able to handle things so you can focus on enjoying your retirement. And these life insurance policies? I pulled out the forged applications, watched their faces. Rebecca's eyes widened slightly. Daniel's expression didn't change. "When did I apply for these?" "Oh, those." Rebecca laughed, but it sounded forced. "Remember when we helped you with that paperwork a few months ago? Those were part of it, just making sure you have coverage. I don't remember signing these." "You were tired that day. We did a lot of paperwork." She squeezed my arm. "Mom, are you feeling okay? You seem confused." The gaslighting was textbook. Tell me I was confused, make me doubt my own memory. "I'm not confused." I pulled my arm away. "I'm very clear. I know these aren't my signatures. I know I never applied for life insurance with you as beneficiary. And I know about the account you opened in my name, and the forged deed, and all of it, Rebecca." Her face went white. Daniel stood up. "Mrs. Patterson, I think you're very confused. Maybe we should call your doctor." "Sit down." My voice came out harder than I intended. "I've already called my lawyer and the police. Everything is documented. Every forged signature, every fraudulent document, every lie." "Mom, what are you talking about?" Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. "We're trying to help you. Daniel said this was the best way to protect you." "Shut up, Rebecca." Daniel's voice was sharp, nothing like his usual smooth tone. She flinched, and I saw it. The fear in her face. Not fear of being caught, fear of him. "Rebecca." I kept my voice gentle. "Did you know Daniel has been arrested for doing this exact thing before?" "In Arizona, he went to prison for stealing from an elderly woman." She looked at Daniel, shock replacing fear. "What? You said you'd never been arrested." "You said—" I said, "Shut up." He grabbed his laptop bag. "We're leaving." "But Mom," said the police. "Are you stupid? We're leaving. Now." Rebecca stood, moving like she was in a trance. She looked at me, and for just a moment, I saw my daughter again, scared, confused, realizing she'd been used. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know. He said it was legal, that we were just helping you, that—" "Rebecca, for Christ's sake!" Daniel grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the door. "Stop." Patricia's voice came from the doorway. She'd been waiting outside, as we'd planned. Behind her were 2 police officers. "Daniel Reardon, also known as Daniel Sullivan, you're under arrest for fraud, identity theft, and exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Rebecca Patterson Mills, you're also under arrest as an accomplice." What happened next was a blur. Miranda rights, handcuffs, Rebecca crying, Daniel silent and cold, neighbors coming out to watch. The police searching both of them, finding more forged documents in Daniel's bag, including ones I hadn't known about, planning to take out reverse mortgages on my house. After they were taken away, Patricia sat with me while Marcus the investigator went through my house looking for anything else they might have planted or taken. In Rebecca's old room, he found a key logger device attached to my computer, stealing passwords. In my kitchen, he found a bottle of prescription sleep medication that wasn't mine, probably meant to make me confused and pliable. "The police will want a full statement," Patricia said, "and this will likely go to trial. Are you ready for that?" I thought about Henry's warnings. About the betrayal. About watching my only daughter being handcuffed in my living room. I'm ready, I said. She needs help, but she also needs to face what she did, and other families need to be protected from Daniel. The trial was 4 months later. Daniel took a plea deal, 10 years for multiple counts of fraud and exploitation. His background revealed 6 other elderly victims across 3 states. Rebecca's trial was harder. The prosecutor laid out everything: the forged signatures, the stolen jewelry, the fake accounts, the life insurance policies. But her defense painted her as a victim too, manipulated by Daniel, financially desperate after her divorce, not realizing the extent of his crimes. The jury found her guilty, but recommended leniency. She was sentenced to 3 years, with the possibility of early release for good behavior. Part of her sentence included restitution to me for everything she'd stolen or attempted to steal. I attended every day of her trial. She never looked at me, not once. After the sentencing, I went home to my house, our house, Henry's and mine. I walked through each room, touching the walls, the furniture, the memories. This place they'd tried to steal wasn't just real estate. It was 37 years of marriage, of raising a daughter, of building a life. That night, I had the dream one last time. Henry in our kitchen, but now the afternoon sun was streaming through the windows, warm and golden. "Thank you," I said, "for warning me. I'll always try to protect you, Margaret, from whatever side of forever I'm on." He smiled. "But you protected yourself. You were brave enough to look for the truth, even when it hurt. That's always been your strength." I don't know what to do about Rebecca now. How do I forgive this? That's not a question I can answer. Forgiveness is complicated, but I can tell you this: you can love someone and still hold them accountable. You can grieve what they did and still hope they find their way back to being the person they were meant to be. You don't have to choose between love and justice. He started to fade, the kitchen dissolving into light. Live, Margaret. Really live. Don't let this make you bitter. The world still has beauty in it. Go find it. I woke up as the sun rose, the dream fading but Henry's words staying clear. It's been 2 years now. I still live in the house. My knees are fine, thank you very much. I've started teaching a class at the senior center on protecting yourself from financial scams. You'd be surprised how common this is, families stealing from elderly parents. Or maybe you wouldn't be surprised. Maybe you've seen it too. Rebecca writes to me sometimes from prison. Short letters, apologizing, explaining, asking if I'll visit. I haven't written back yet. Maybe I will someday. Maybe forgiveness is something that grows slowly, like the roses in my garden that Henry planted the year before he died. I've learned to trust my instincts again. That gut feeling when something's wrong, the dreams that feel too vivid to be just dreams, the warnings that come from somewhere deeper than logic. And I've learned that loving someone doesn't mean letting them destroy you. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for them is to stop them. My home is still mine. My life is still mine. And every morning when I wake up, I'm grateful for Henry's warning, for my own courage to investigate, and for the strength to do what had to be done. If someone you love asks you to sign something and you feel that whisper of doubt, that small voice saying, "Wait, listen to it." Check the documents, ask questions, protect yourself, because love shouldn't require blind trust, and family doesn't mean unlimited access to everything you've worked for. Trust the dreams, trust your gut, and never, ever sign papers you haven't read carefully, no matter who's asking.